Norton Shores, Michigan. This is not a crime capital. This is a town where nothing ever happens. But on the night of April 26, 2013, here, at this gas station, 25-year-old Jessica Heeringa was finishing her shift. She wasn't expecting trouble. 10:50 p.m., a white minivan pulls into the lot. 11:15 p.m., a customer discovers the lights are on, the register is open, and the money is inside. Jessica's personal belongings, her keys, her wallet, everything is right there on the counter. But Jessica is gone. There was no sign of a robbery. There were no witnesses. There was only one tiny piece of evidence, a drop of blood on the pavement. In 25 minutes, a person vanished into thin air, and for the next 3 years, the police had not a single name. The perpetrator acted so quickly and cleanly that he seemed invisible. It would take 2 more attacks for the phantom hiding in a simple white minivan to finally emerge from the shadows. But even after his capture, his silence continues to keep her family in hell. Norton Shores, Michigan. A suburb where life followed a predictable, peaceful course. A place where people didn't double-lock their doors because evil always seemed to happen somewhere else, beyond the horizon, in the crime reports of big cities. However, this illusion of safety was shattered one spring night when a young woman vanished from this quiet, sleeping world. Jessica Lynn Heeringa, 25 years old, a mother, a daughter. She worked as a cashier at an Exxon gas station on the corner of Sterling Drive and Hard Road. It was a mundane job, necessary to make ends meet, to provide a better life for her young son. Jessica was only 5'1", but according to her loved ones, she was full of the true energy of life. Her sister, Samantha Heeringa, recalls, "She fought for us. She took the night shifts because they paid better. She wasn't afraid to work. I remember her saying, 'A little longer, and we'll make it. We'll buy a house.' She was so driven. And this is just unfair." Friday night, April 26, 2013. Jessica's shift was supposed to end at 11 p.m. Around 10:40 p.m., she called her father. A short, routine conversation. No signs of alarm, no premonitions. It was her last recorded call. 10 minutes later, at approximately 10:50 p.m., a vehicle pulls into the gas station. This moment would be the last time Jessica was seen alive. The alarm was raised shortly after, around 11:15 p.m. A regular customer who stopped for gas found an eerie silence. The lights were on, the doors were unlocked, but no one was inside. Only an empty counter and an open cash register. Arriving Norton Shores police immediately realized this was no ordinary robbery. As Lieutenant Michael Kasher, the lead investigator, remembered, everything was in place. Her wallet, full of cash, was on the counter. All the money was in the register. Her car was left in the parking lot. If it was a robbery, they would have taken the money and maybe her car keys to flee. Here, we saw something different. This was an abduction. Targeted, fast, and shockingly clean. Detectives began a meticulous search, and they found what turned this case into a crime drama. Near the front door, on the asphalt, 2 small drops of blood were discovered. DNA analysis left no doubt. It was Jessica Heeringa's blood. This confirmed she did not leave voluntarily. She fought. Furthermore, 2 strange metal pieces were found on the ground, parts resembling firearm accessories. This became the first piece of physical evidence pointing to the violent nature of the abduction. A crucial fact, which later became the bane of the investigation, was the absence of surveillance cameras at this gas station. The police had no video footage, no image of the perpetrator. Only one eyewitness account from a customer who was at the station before 10:50 p.m. He reported seeing a white minivan parked near the entrance. This white minivan became the only lead in the first years of the investigation. Jessica Heeringa's case became national news. A task force comprised of 15 agencies and over 75 officers spent thousands of hours searching. They checked every white minivan in the county, processing over 1,000 anonymous calls and tips. But the result was zero. The perpetrator vanished, leaving behind only drops of blood and a feeling of helplessness. As one analyst noted, the lack of video footage in such cases is a disaster. We had little physical evidence and only a vague verbal portrait of the vehicle. This allowed the perpetrator, whoever he was, to dissolve into the ordinary suburb. The investigation was stuck in a dead end that lasted a long, agonizing 3 years. Jessica's family lived in a state of the worst torture, uncertainty. Samantha said, "The worst thing is waking up and realizing the day has passed again, and you don't know where she is. You can't bury her. You can't say goodbye. You just live with that emptiness." The police and the family continued their search. Massive sweeps of wooded areas and waterways were conducted, but each new day brought only disappointment. The case seemed destined to become another cold trail, an unsolved mystery only to be recalled on the anniversaries of her disappearance. But Jessica's fate was not meant to remain a mystery. The answer, as is often the case, came completely unexpectedly from a different, unrelated case. To find the killer, it took another potential predator making a mistake and his victim being strong enough to fight back. It took 3 more years of pain and waiting for the truth about the monster hiding among the neighbors to finally come out. 3 years later, in April 2016, Michigan shuddered again. But this time, not from a disappearance, but from a story of incredible bravery. 16-year-old Madison Nygaard was subjected to an attempted abduction, but managed to escape from her abductor's van and run to the nearest house. Thanks to her testimony, police arrested a suspect, Jeffrey Willis, a 46-year-old electrician from Muskegon Township who aroused no suspicion. And his vehicle? A white minivan. Lieutenant Casher recalled the moment with intense relief. When we entered his minivan, it was a moment of truth. It was a mobile torture chamber. Inside, we found handcuffs, ropes, a handgun, a machete, and immediately, we remembered Jessica. And not just her, we started checking his connection to another unsolved case, the murder of runner Rebecca Bletch, shot dead on the side of the road in 2014. We realized we had a serial predator on our hands. The examination of Willis's digital footprint was decisive. Not only were materials related to violence and abduction found on his computer, but also maps marked with locations where he, according to the investigation, had stalked potential victims. The most chilling discovery was files directly related to the Jessica Heeringa case. Police obtained a warrant to search his home and vehicle, where strong evidence was found. Pistol parts found at the scene of Jessica's abduction were linked to a weapon seized from Willis. The prosecution was also able to prove that his travel route that night coincided with the time of Jessica's disappearance. In September 2016, Jeffrey Willis was charged with the abduction and murder of Jessica Heeringa. It was a trial without a body, one of the most difficult challenges for any prosecutor's office. The prosecution had to convince the jury that Jessica was dead and that Willis was her killer, based solely on circumstantial evidence and testimony. County Prosecutor D.J. Hilson was convinced of his guilt. We showed the jury Willis is a man who planned, stalked, and acted. We connected the dots. The white minivan, identified by Madison Nygaard, matched the description of the vehicle at the gas station. The weapon found on him matched the metal parts left at the crime scene. Jessica's blood on the asphalt spoke of her struggle. We proved he was at the right time, in the right place, and that his criminal tendencies matched what happened. It was a chain of evidence that was impossible to break. A key witness was Willis's cousin, Kevin Blum. He was initially charged with complicity and perjury. Although his testimony was controversial, it added the final piece to the puzzle, indicating that Willis had boasted or hinted to him about doing Jessica. Jessica's family was present at every session. They listened to the horrifying details that revealed the life of their daughter and sister in her final moments. It was not just a legal battle. It was an emotional torture they had to endure to achieve justice. Samantha, Jessica's sister, shared her feelings. "I wanted him to look me in the eye, to tell us where she is, but he just sat there, stone-faced. It was as if he was mocking us. But when the jury came back, when we heard guilty, that was the first time in 5 years I felt like I could breathe." In October 2018, Jeffrey Willis was found guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Justice prevailed for Jessica Heeringa and for Rebecca Bletch, and possibly saved the lives of other potential victims. Jeffrey Willis was convicted and locked away forever, but even the sentence could not put an end to the Heeringa family's suffering. Willis's greatest, most cruel atrocity is not just murder, but his silence. He remains the only person who knows where Jessica is, and he refuses to speak. He uses this knowledge as a final tool of control, as the ultimate mockery of the family he caused unimaginable pain. Lieutenant Casher, despite Willis's incarceration, does not lose hope. We will not give up. We continue to analyze every shred of information. We know he's hiding her somewhere in those vast abandoned areas of Michigan. Our job is not finished until we bring Jessica back to her family, until they can say goodbye, as they should. It is a duty. Jessica Heeringa was stolen from her loved ones on the most ordinary day in the most ordinary setting. Her story is a tragic reminder that evil does not always wear a recognizable face and can hide behind the mask of a quiet neighbor. Norton Shores has recovered. The gas station was renamed and cameras were installed. The lesson was learned at too high a cost. But for those who loved Jessica, her story will remain unfinished until her body is found. Their life is an endless wait. A wait for justice. A wait for goodbye. Where are you, Jessica?